Yeah, there you go. Happy Monday, Monday. You can trust that day. Say it with me. Monday, Monday. Okay. How you doing, everybody? Welcome to the show. David Burrows here, as always, of course. Episode 589. And we just keep growing around here. Thanks to all of you for watching. But happy Monday. Or if you're watching a replay of this, and maybe it's Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever the case may be. But as we are here today, happy Monday, right? That's just the way it is. Happy Monday. What a lot of interesting things happening around the world. Let's talk UFOs. What is going on? It's really interesting between United States, Canada, and China. Like, wow, a lot going on. One was taken down over Lake Huron, apparently. I saw a video. I'll mention my friends at Blackwater Coffee who were out the other night videotaping. I don't know what it was. I should have had it here and I could have showed you. But if you go to Blackwater Coffee on Instagram, you'll see. And it was this long, straight light in the air. It was not an airplane by any means. Noise is going off. Oh, how about that? It was really interesting. And then all of a sudden it was gone. So who knows if it went into a cloud or whatever. But what do you think about these unidentified flying objects? What's happening out there? Let me know in the comments. And it's going to unfold on its own, right? Sooner or later. But interesting times out there when we're talking about UFOs again, right? Is there something funny going on? Don't start on the conspiracies. Here we go, right? Take a moment, say hello in the chat. Love hearing from you. And I do my best to respond to all of your comments. So let me know your thoughts about the UFO thing and anything else positive that you want to share. Sarnia Sting, let's always got to talk about them. I love my friends at the Sarnia Sting, but boy, they had a rough one while they were away for 3 games, taking 1 out of the 3. They took on the North Bay Battalion, but just not able to take on Sudbury, losing by 1 there. And then they would go to the Sioux, which when the Sioux was here, the Sarnia Sting beat them 12-1. This time, the coin flipped the other way as they lost 7-3, I believe it was. Yeah, 7-3 against the Sioux. So that was interesting. But so not a lot has changed as far as the standings go. They had the opportunity to get up a little bit higher, but still some time left. But you know what, like, it's February. Can you believe that? And like the last Sarnia Sting home game of the regular season is the end of March. Sarnia Sting will be back here on February the 15th, pardon me, at the Progressive Auto Sales Arena as they take on the Guelph Storm. And then on the weekend, February 18th, the London Knights will be in the house of the Sarnia Sting as well. So go online to get your tickets, sarniasting.com. And I also might have some tickets for Wednesday for the Guelph Storm. So keep an eye out for that on our Facebook page. Now, my friends at River City Vineyard have done very well at fundraising and expanding their homeless shelter and providing a lot of great services for many in our community who need those services. But they're doing their annual Coldest Night of the Year event, or they're part of the Coldest Night of the Year event that happens on the 25th, but they're also going to be having an open house on February the 25th from 1 to 4 p.m. And my friend Renee said, please let everybody know that they're all welcome to come and tour the facilities, see what they've done there. And then after that, they will be doing their Coldest Night of the Year event supporting the River City. And you can donate. There it is on the screen down there. We'll also post it in the comments after the show, so you can click on the link and find out more about it and maybe even make a donation to support them. They've done really great down there, coming through a lot of obstacles, but they still exist and are doing well supporting those in our community who need that. So thank you to River City Vineyard and all the team down there for doing that. All right, well, before we get started, of course, always got to say thank you to Blue Water Power, a group of companies, Joe's Discount Tire, and, of course, our friends askguy.ca at AG Event Graphics. Thanks to everybody for their support. And please visit their Facebook pages and their websites and give them your support here as well. They really help, are a big part of keeping the show going around here. Also, along with all of you who are watching. Well, this week I get out one-on-one down to the International Symphony Orchestra, Sarnia, or better known as the ISO bar or ISO bar. Did you say it ISO bar or ISO bar? But the ISO here in Sarnia. And my friend Anthony Wing gave me some of his time. He's very, very busy. He's the executive director for the ISO here in Sarnia. And I wanted to sit down with him and talk to him, not just about the ISO, but about him as a musician and personally some of the things he does. So let's get right to it. This is a really fun and enjoyable conversation that I had, along with a surprise guest in there as well. Here's Anthony Wing. Take a look. Well, it's nice to be in this location. I haven't been here for a while, but the ISO, which is the International Symphony Orchestra here in downtown Sarnia, and Anthony Wing joining us here. Thanks for your time, Anthony.
Yeah, thanks for having me, David.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So you're the main guy around here, I guess, the executive director.
I'm one of the only full timers. Yeah. I'm the boots on the ground for the organization, which has offices in both Canada and in Michigan.
Yeah, fantastic. I guess we can't go right from birth, but let's go back a few years.
Well, I'm from Sarnia.
You're from Sarnia. How did music come into your life?
I, like so many at the time, I started piano instruction at the convent on London Road in Vidal, which is now a parking lot between the Our Lady Mercy Church and their parish hall. I began piano instruction a little late by today's standard. I was 8 years old. And for several years I was with nuns doing the instruction from the Mount St. Joseph's, a sort of satellite convent in Sarnia. Okay. And then when it had not closed when I left, but I left for private instruction in Sarnia. I forget. I think just before I started high school.
Okay.
Then I got my what do you call it? They call it associate or ARCT piano when I was still in high school here. So I was very, very, very lucky to have completed that just as I was completing my grade 13, because that did exist.
Right, there was a time.
Yeah. Then I attended music school at McGill in Montreal.
Wow, you got quite a resume going on there. And you've been, have you always kind of planted your feet here in Sarnia, or
No.
have you gone abroad?
No, I stepped out of town just briefly, maybe about 2.5 decades. Came back in 2016, primarily to assist my parents.
Okay.
I come from a large family, and there were no children left in the community. I was restless, and I had a few careers, and I was trying to get a show on the Food Network. Living in Calgary, active with a side career with oysters and shellfish, which I do to different degrees here in Sarnia still. Okay. And there was just a bit of a necessity to help out here. Yeah. So I came back, and I get bored pretty easily. Okay. So I was in the pit orchestra for a few Theatre Sarnia productions, playing piano. Beauty and the Beast, Oliver, and then Hunchback. Oh wow! And during that time, I became more acquainted with the ISO.
Yeah, and I've got to say, I think actually I was just talking to somebody before I got here and telling them that I was coming to talk to you, and they're like, "Oh, the symphony," and there's like this image of the symphony, and I've interviewed others in the community that's like, they'll say like, well, it comes across as just stuffy kind of thing, it's just a bunch of violins and whatever. But the ISO here has really, you've changed that. It seems like the image of the ISO, like you just had the tea party, after party here, and you've mixed the two together. You really seem to be creatively coming up with new ways to keep people interested.
In a sense, that's very, very true. But it's all music. Yeah. And so. What we've done with ISOBAR, the ISOBAR project led eventually to our collaboration with very different musical entities. Yeah, quite right. It was mostly trying to trying to create a media hub which would contain a performance space, a rehearsal space, an art gallery, and our admin, and to put on regular smaller events here. So you get a more intimate idea.
Yeah.
I was constantly booking, just for the pandemic, wildly different musical acts here, month by month, and we continue to do that. But everything, especially since we're licensed for the events, everything was geared towards support of the operations of the orchestra.
Right.
And yes, we did attract. It's all down to community support, and that is the community as a whole may be aware of us and have a certain idea of us in a certain way, because of our branding, because we're kind of in your face with a lot of the promotions, but there's a feeling generally that came out in the middle of the pandemic that people may not wish to come to concerts so much, but they very much support the idea of a symphony orchestra in their community, and in our case, bridged communities, because we're unique in that respect. We've been going. We're the longest running cross-border orchestra in North America.
Nice.
In our 65th year, and the community, remarkably, and we just lucked out, because the community began to more and more value us as we reached the latter stage of the pandemic, and we survived.
Yeah, you kind of were already leading me into that portion of the pandemic. I know that everybody had to adapt. That's an obvious story there, but how did you sit down and go, wow, how do we do this?
Oh, during the
pandemic.
Yeah. Well, we laid off my assistant in May of 2020, so I was on my own, save for a bookkeeper coming in with the heavy weather and the doom and gloom twice a week. The front door was locked, and so I sat here and I did all the worrying.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And
well,
we were helping her. Well, we started the ISO renewal fund, and I had to get right down to the bone of why is it worth it for the community to have a symphony orchestra survive? Because there were approximately 300 arts nonprofits across Canada that did go under during this period. So I went around to people in the community who could help with the point form plan. This is what we do for the community. Are you interested in helping us survive and helping us even flourish? We didn't expect to flourish so early, because the growth now we're trying to manage, because we're growing very, 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 very quickly. And it was a stroke of luck that we were supported heavily by Factor Canada, who liked our idea of producing content strictly within the isobar, and all filmed.
Yeah.
And so I extended that to the Nexus Chamber, the Nexus Chamber series, we called it. It was two sets of smaller orchestras. So we split the membership in half, and we shot film in empty churches and empty halls on both sides over a period of several months, with our conductor emeritus here and our conductor, our current music director and the conductor, Doug Bianchi. He did it in Michigan. I couldn't cross until July of 21, so I was just hooked up on film day by like the net, and we were able to shoot five episodes. We were very, very well treated here. Temple Baptist Church allowed us to film there, and the new owners of the church, formerly known as Central United, now called 220 Genesis, they allowed us to film there. We became acquainted with a range of musicians, which now make up the core of the orchestra, and now we sort of enjoy a status as one of the coolest places for musicians to work, between London and Detroit.
Wow.
And when we shot material here inside the Isobar, what I did was I created the Isobar sessions. We would invite singer-songwriters in, and I would arrange their music generally for strings, piano, and a few other orchestra instruments. and we would film it, and we'd film half-hour episodes. The point of that was to try to get material and content onto Detroit Public Television.
Oh, okay.
So I could keep on delivering content to the Michigan side while we were unable to cross.
Yeah.
Finally, I became a cross-border worker. I was designated in the summer of 21, and we slowly began to go back to regular operations. I don't think we would not have been able to deliver any content primarily without the help from the feds.
Yeah.
From Factor, because Factor likes filmed projects, and it was the first time as a symphony that we had shifted completely to digital because of necessity. Every symphony had to think about that.
So was it? Would you say it was actually kind of the blessing in disguise in some ways?
In a way, it was because our board of directors wished that there would be things that we were engaged in during the pandemic that we could hang on to, that we could endure, that we could make part of the symphony experience post-pandemic. So what we've done is our tradition is to do 2 concerts. So we do one here and one there, or like vice versa. Next weekend we have At the Movies. So we play film scores. And the first concert will be here, the next will at the Temple Baptist, the next night it'll be at McMorran. One of every 2 concerts is live streamed.
Oh, okay.
And so that and it's available on our website. So that led to a further project, which opened us up for more support, which was we are trying to get as many live streamed ISO concerts into as many retirement homes on both sides as we can. And that probably would not have been a going concern had we not been forced to shift to digital.
Yeah. And a great success. One of the ones I remember Bill Eldridge was
you bet.
Somebody that performed, and I know Bill from way back a few years, and it was nice to see his music come to life.
Well, Bill helped get the Isobar sessions started. Yeah. Bill was present, and although his was the first music that I arranged to when we turned where we're sitting now, we turned it into a film set, and we do it to this day. We filmed some stuff just recently with a green screen. It's all part of community partnerships. I'll let you know what the green screen stuff is, so I won't talk about it.
Okay.
But
right.
We should keep that to ourselves for now.
We will.
But they are very valued partnerships that we began to develop during the pandemic. From a position of, because remember, we are lucky to be alive. Virtually every orchestra in North America in the last 10, 15 years has been undergoing an identity crisis. Yeah. Because the people who most supported this sort of thing are all beginning to fall off the earth. They're all over the age of 80.
Right.
And our greatest supporters, this is sort of the crux of why I wanted to get the live stream into the retirement homes. Because they kept the ISO going for decades. My predecessor, Ann Brown, ran this organization for 30 years.
Ann was great.
And all through, and we didn't have our golden years. We would not have had them without Ann. Yeah. And I would not have been able to take over this wonderful organization and begin to try different things without Ann's work. Yeah. But she represented the end of that age where we had to figure out how to
what's next.
How to further capture the community.
Yeah.
And captivate.
And I really like while you've expanded, you've really still kept a local atmosphere to it all. Like let's talk about Mike Stevens. And our friend Richard Bland.
And Corey James Mitchell.
Yeah. And they did that, and that video, which, and then you had, kind of a presentation and an interview here.
Oh, yes.
Them,
yes, the Richard Bland exhibition was our first major exhibition in the Isobar Art Gallery. And I was just wondering why Richard hadn't had a hometown retrospective. So we kind of grabbed it. Yeah. And it led to the List Gallery in Toronto are his dealer, and they ran a show of his that just that ended just before we started.
Okay.
And suddenly, we had about 30 of we had about 30 of his prints.
Yeah.
Just to explain, Richard Bland is a rock photographer, generally a music photographer, who has been photographing bands and shows and rock stars for over 30 years.
And like so many, from Simon and Garfunkel to Aerosmith to he was a big part with the Tragically Hip.
He told us he had gone to over 100 hip shows as a worker, you know.
Yeah.
But he had returned to Sarnia, where he had grown up, to run the to co-create the program, the photography program at Lambton.
Yep.
So he was already here, and I said, well, let's do a show. The List Gallery did a very successful show of his, and then they reached out to us and they said, you can have the show. Nice. So they shipped it here. So we went from over 30 prints to over 70. So we had to pretty much rethink the space in the gallery, and it was a huge event. It was great fun, and we did it all through the summer. We closed it Labor Day 22, and we had these wonderful events around it, where we were able to auction off his prints in support of the ISO. Yeah. It was a great partnership, and so the exhibitions we choose, we've been very, very lucky with. Yeah. And Mike Stevens did he co-hosted the opening night.
Yeah, I was here for Richard's presentation, and I happened to just walk in actually at the right moment, and I caught him and Mike just in this back room here. Got a quick picture. I was like, wow, you guys are amazing to have those two individuals together in this room and have the showcase with them, like with Richard, and then Mike was here, and it's just nice to see that as far as these guys go and people like them travel and go, they come right back here and are welcomed with their talents.
Yes, and the old saying, you will travel far, and then you will return, and you will know the place for the first time. Yeah.
Let's talk about you a little bit more. Okay, you got all these projects with the ISO, and you've done, and I know you've got a bit of a team that you work with. But do you ever have time for your own personal projects? Do you have any of those on the go?
Well, I still cater oysters. There are caterers in London and Windsor who like to use my service, which is called Shuck the World. So I do Shuck the World events where I can, but right now we're in the off season. It peaks, in the ER months.
Okay, yeah. I don't know much about it.
Yeah,
so.
the oysters are best. That is between East and West Coast. They're all very, very strong at the same time in like the ER months. But you can get great oysters year round. I'll be doing. I always work on Valentine's Day.
Oh. That's okay.
Can we edit that? So, yeah.
No, we'll keep that in there.
Okay. Yeah.
Was that you calling them?
Yes. Elisa saying cut it short. Okay,
right.
Yeah. Short. Time is money. I do the oysters, sure, because it's something that I can do. When I came out of retirement to compete in the summertime, and I was quite graciously sponsored to go to PEI for the international competition by the people at Tim Aesthetics. Oh. And so it was a bit of a nip and shuck thing. But my spare time is bound up a lot in the music, because this is music at men, but I'm also very, very ensconced in my own musical journey. Yeah. So right now I travel to Toronto once a month for lessons, because I have a teacher.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yeah. And because the learning never stops, really, and therefore the fun never stops. And I'm constantly involved in. identifying new projects for the ISO, for support of the ISO, for projects which would create chances to arrange music. And luckily the Tea Party project were already existing arrangements. So we got to fiddle around with them, but not much, and it didn't take as much strain because they had performed the versions of these arrangements in the past.
Okay.
So it was just it was Maestro Doug and I just kind of getting it together for the orchestra. For the long, slower projects, that does take up a lot of my time because I'm constantly looking for different ways to reach out and to serve our communities on both sides. So a lot of the spare time is spent in Michigan.
Okay.
Too, you know, and I don't want to. I would be remiss if I didn't mention our educational component. We were able in the pandemic to start the El Sistema program here in Sarnia. It is the free violin instruction program for at-risk kids, and and we were offered this support to start it. And I didn't want to do it unless we could focus it in the First Nation communities. Mm-hmm. So we have instructors from the orchestra, and they are now teaching classes of kids at the Amjanon Community Center.
Nice.
And at the BK School in Walpole. So that's growing, and that's also worthy of community support. And we also have Saturday morning classes for the wider community here at the Isobar.
Wow. What great growth that you've got to be really proud of what's been accomplished in this room and even and beyond this room, quite honestly, from what you just shared.
And we're just trying not to be victims of our own big ideas.
Right.
We're trying to manage it. Right?
Yeah. Well, that's right. You can sometimes you can go too big too quickly, right? You seem to kept it stable, I guess. Moving forward, you talked a little bit about your musical journey. What's next in your personal journey musically?
My own. I'd like to do a solo piano concert, which will include some duets with orchestra members for probably June of this year.
Oh, nice.
This is what I'm planning for in my constant Toronto back and forth. It's something that I wanted to do before the pandemic, and all proceeds will go to the orchestra.
Right.
So as a mode of support for us. I'm not that crazy about playing with the orchestra game because I did a Mozart concerto in the last concert before the pandemic stopped this cold. It was February 2020, and I found out what it was like to run the organization and be the soloist. So I'm not that anxious to do that again.
Right.
So I thought
one or the other.
I thought maybe the concert route, just on my own and with a few orchestra members, it would be fun for everybody in the community who would be interested in checking it out.
Well, we'll look forward to that then. I think I'm going to reveal something here that I think I can. Work with me on this, Anthony. I was at a Sarnia Sting game recently, and all of a sudden up on the screen there was somebody playing like da, 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 that kind of, do you know anything about that?
I just know that the Sting got a new organist, and I wonder who that guy is because I've seen him up on the big screen. The problem is it's like Phantom of the Opera, and he doesn't turn around.
No.
And I've even seen him get hit with all the snow from the ice and still be able to play those cheers.
I've had people ask me.
Yeah, we're wondering too. The ISO is trying to track this person down.
Okay.
I do have the best people on it.
All right.
I do, and I should also. You mentioned we could not have grown without the incredible assistance of our videographer, and our editor Troy Shantz.
Troy's amazing.
Former Sarnia Journal writer who now lives full time in Hamilton because there's so much work, in like the film industry. Yeah. And he gets back here for every live stream, and he shoots it here, or he joins our crew in the States. Troy was around at the beginning of the ideas that became the Isobar sessions, and just shooting here and just making this into a film set. And he has been invaluable to us and unsparing with his time. And
nice.
the fact that Maestro Doug made it through the pandemic and we're going strong again still inside the concert hall. I'm grateful for so many people for making the ISO very, very exciting institution.
Yeah. When you surround yourself with great and talented people, great things happen, right, Anthony? That's really
well. I'd like to especially thank Mr. David Burrows because right at the beginning of the ISOBAR sessions, David reached out to us and he said, "Let's do a Zoom interview." Yeah. And I got to talk about the Bill Eldridge one here by the piano on his Zoom, early on. And so thank you for helping to get the word out because we were pretty much at short ends at that time.
Right. Yeah. Anthony, I know you're busy, and the manager's saying, "Come on, you got work to do, whatever."
Can we say hi to Elise here? You want to come over, just say hello?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Come on in here.
It's our office manager, Elise Duchesne.
And as we're recording this, this is your first. Yeah, come on up, pull up a chair in here. Sure, let's bring you right in here. We've had enough of Anthony. Tell everybody.
I'm tired of this,
right? Yeah. Say hello. Tell everybody who you are.
Hello, my name is Elise Duchesne. I am brand new at the ISO, and I am the office manager.
Awesome. You're in for a lot of interesting pieces of the future, things that are going to happen here, right?
I certainly hope so.
Yeah.
I think the question of you never know what's going to happen in a day or a week is pretty great.
Yeah. There were how many applicants for you to get through to get this job?
It makes me blush.
Right.
I'll say it. I'll say 140.
Wow, fantastic. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm really excited.
All right. Well, we're here at the ISO bar, as you can tell, and we welcome you to come down here. And there's a website people can go to.
That's right. The ISO, theiso.org, where you can buy tickets, read about upcoming events, and really you can check out the ISO bar on 2 different Instagram accounts.
Great.
And we've just got going. We just got going with TikTok.
Oh yeah, right on. Me too.
Yeah. And we also began to do this thing before the pandemic, where we would just give the passwords to one orchestra member for a one concert weekend, and they would just go nuts on the app. So we're having some fun.
Right on, Anthony. Thank you so much for your time. Great to meet you as well. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
And check out the ISO bar. And thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks again.
Anthony, thank you so much. We had a great time chatting after that interview as well for some more time after. So thanks again for your time, Anthony. Great space down there and some really cool things coming up soon that Anthony's going to let me know all about. He showed me a YouTube video of the Tea Party and Symphony in Windsor at the Caesars down in Windsor, and wow, was that ever cool. So I really appreciated the time, Anthony, and looking forward to chatting with you more again in the future. Thanks to all of you for watching. That's it for this week, and like I always got to say, that's all the time I got for you this week. Have a great week and an even better weekend. I will see you next time right here on the show. Bye-bye for now. There it is. See ya.